Hi guys, so today's lesson is going to be for Friday, May 15th. This is the last video for the year. How sad is that? But I mean, on the plus side, you made it through. Good job. Pat yourself on the back for that. Nicely done. So we are not actually done with Unit 7, but this week is the last week that I'll be making videos because I kind of want you guys to get far along with the notes, and actually you can go ahead and finish them really on your own time because I have it scheduled out next week that we'll finish the slides like Monday and Tuesday, but I'm also opening the test on Monday. So after today, I'm really just predicting you all to just finish your slides without me. Sad. So you guys can take the test and kind of get that out of the way. Okay, so you don't have a bell ringer today, but I want you to submit your bell ringers. You should have a total of 4 bell ringers for the month of May. Turn those in, get that done. And today we're going to focus on slides 55 through 57. Quickly, let's recap what we've talked about last. Ethnic cleansing, which is just a polite, nice way of saying genocide, if you would like to say it nicely. We have some ethnic cleansing going on in the former satellite states. You know, there's these disagreements between, especially in Yugoslavia, do we want to be independent or do we want to be just one big country, territory as Yugoslavia? So that's going on. Lots of economic problems, of course, after the fall of the Soviet Union. They're these former satellite states are by themselves now, so they have to figure out what they want to do and how to best lead their country and their people. And now they're getting a little bit picky choosy on who's going to be allowed in there. That's what the ethnic cleansing is, and we have political tensions as well. So it's messy. It's messy. Okay, so we're doing 55 through 57, 2 writing slides and 1 picture slide. The first one is the European Union, the EU. This is a big thing, and this is established in 1992. So ongoing efforts to build an economic and political union among the nations of Europe, because it's a mess. It is a complete mess after the Soviet Union fell. Among the nations of Europe resulted in the establishment of the European Union, or the EU, in 1992. In recent years, a number of Eastern European nations and former satellite republics, or satellite states, have joined the EU, and and others are candidates to join. You have to get approval before you go in. It's kind of like, we have, oh my gosh, the United Nations, and all of these countries come together. It's not just like one country can make a decision for all of them. Like, they come together at the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, and they discuss, if we want to add somebody in or something like that. So it's the same thing. They all make decisions together. So the European Union all has to make a decision together about whether they want to add somebody in or not, because it matters a lot, because it affects your economy, of course, and politics-wise. We can't let somebody in who's going to have a dictatorship or be like an authoritarian leader or have a completely different economic system that's actually going to hurt all of us. So what one country does in the EU actually affects all of them. So it's really important that they all kind of do this together. These steps have created a single economic unit that is large enough to compete with the United States. So this is a powerhouse. The EU, so we have the United States over here, United States, and we have the EU over here, and both of them have very strong economies, because think about this, like, the states, all the 50 states, all have their own individual economies, and they're all working together to help the federal government economy for the whole country of the United States. Well, the same thing's happening over here in the European Union, except for they're not states, they're countries. And these countries are all working together to boost up the economic system for the whole entire EU, the entirety of the European Union. That's massive. And so, it's a powerhouse. It's huge. Many of the new members, however, are far poorer than older Western European members. So when we talk about the European Union, the Western Europe is going to be much more powerful and much more established than Eastern Europe, because Eastern Europe is closer to Russia, and some of them might have been former satellite states, and they're just trying to catch up with Western Europe, which is like Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, that's Western Europe over there. And I actually have a map to show you too what we're talking about for the European Union, right? That's Western Europe. Okay, and I'll go back to that map, don't worry. So as a result, some people in the wealthier nations worry that their economies will suffer. So, we're letting in all of these former satellite states, and it's nice that we will help them a lot, but just because we're taking them in, that can actually hurt us and that can slow down our economies as well. So there's some hesitant feelings on that. Another issue that the EU is facing is immigration. This is huge, 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 huge. Immigration throughout history has just always been something like a topic of interest and also just conflicts. Immigration and political refugees. Remember, if you're seeking asylum, if you are a refugee, that country has to take you, and they have to figure out what to do with you. Sorry, like, on one side, I understand why countries are a little frustrated. Like, I totally get that. But at the other side, like, these are people's lives at stake, and this is a humanitarian crisis. So, I mean, I get both sides. Today, countries in the EU cannot keep up with the influx of refugees from war-torn countries in Europe. Because of this, governments must now create a plan to please their citizens and help the refugees at the same time. Here's something that I read last year, actually, and it makes perfect sense, and I think it describes immigration perfectly. When you have like refugees or just immigrants coming to a country, you need compassion and you need time. For a lot of these situations, we don't have time, right? So these people are being pushed out of their home and they're being forced to find a new home, and they're seeking asylum. And let's say they come into the United States and say, hello, I'm seeking asylum. My country is literally killing me. I need help. Well, there is no time. We have to let them in. Okay. Compassion doesn't immediately always come once you first meet somebody, right? Like, you have to know their story, you have to know what's going on, and this comes with the investigations that we conduct. So when somebody crosses the border and says, I'm seeking asylum, we have to make sure that they're telling the truth. So we have to make sure that, you know, that their experiences are valid and that this is actually happening to them, and then the compassion starts to set in. Again, though, you need time, and a lot of the situations we don't have time, and this is happening all over the world. And we have countries like in Syria, where it's completely war-torn countries. And I have a map to show you. They're trying to seek asylum in these countries, and there's no time. There's absolutely no time. You have to accept them. But these other countries that the people from Syria are fleeing don't have the resources, right? So it's a very complicated situation. To further go along with the European Union and all of their issues here, we have refugees, we have economic issues with the European Union being established. Our next slide is economic change. The end of communism brought mixed results for the economies of Eastern Europe. Remember those former satellite states? The introduction of market reforms created new opportunities for many people, like instituting capitalist ideals. Some started new businesses, and the highly skilled got well-paying management or technical jobs in private enterprises. Those are private businesses. That's great. Like, some people are really succeeding in this, these capitalist reforms and these capitalist ideas. Like, that's awesome. That's wonderful. But not everybody is going to succeed like this. Not everybody is going to have those successes. Others in Eastern Europe haven't done as well. Earnings have not risen for all the workers. It depends on what your job is. Some people are going to do really well. Some people are not going to do really well, right? That's everywhere. The stakes are just more serious in these countries, though, because like they're trying to establish themselves as a country and as a stable economic system, right? And it's very difficult. Many state-supported factories have closed, so those factories and those businesses that were controlled by the satellite states' governments, those are going to close down because you're instituting capitalist reforms, and we don't have businesses that are controlled by the government anymore, leading to high unemployment in some areas. These economic problems have led many Eastern Europeans to move to Western Europe. So those former satellite states are moving to Western Europe. I'll show you the map again, hoping to take advantage of the opportunities there. Again, with the refugees, well, not in this case, not necessarily refugees, but again, with just immigration. Remember, if you're a refugee, you're being persecuted in some way. Your government's attacking you because of your religion, your ethnicity, genocide, ethnic cleansing, whatever you want to call it. If your government is persecuting you in some way, you are a refugee. An immigrant is just somebody moving to another place for better opportunities for themselves and for their family. This has led to a strain in some parts of Western Europe as newcomers compete with long-time residents for jobs and other resources. This is a huge thing. It always has been. You know, these immigrants are coming in and taking our jobs. That's not necessarily the case. Immigrants usually come into the country and take jobs that are available to them, usually jobs that Americans or, let's say, Germans or British people or people from France, usually they take those jobs that those people won't work. It happens all over the country. We're not just like we're not alone in that, okay? So, but again, like I understand both situations because countries just are overflowing with immigrants and we don't know what to do. We don't have the resources, the money, blah, blah, blah. It's a real thing. I also want to have on this slide Brexit. Brexit is the United Kingdom's separation from the European Union. So in 2016, the UK voted to leave the European Union because they wanted to make decisions for themselves. It's almost like, why we didn't join the League of Nations, because the United States wants to make decisions for ourselves. We don't want to be forced to go to war if something were to happen, whatever. Well, the United Kingdom decided to leave the EU because they wanted to make decisions for themselves and they also wanted to be in charge of their own economies. They didn't want some entity to make decisions for them for their economies. And now that they're taking in refugees and they're adding in all these countries into the European Union, it's going to hurt the economy of the EU. So the UK said, no, I'm not going to risk that hurting my economy. So they decided to leave. And they also wanted to be in charge of immigration, who they let into their country and who they do not. So since 2016, it is now 2020. The UK has been trying to figure out a plan on successfully leaving the EU, because it's not just like, all right, we're cut off, like we're not going to work with you anymore. Like this is a big thing. Like this is going to impact your economy in a huge way. And you have to figure out how to, once you're gone, have a stable economy now that you're separated from it. So it's kind of like when you have a revolution and now you're independent, like woohoo, you're free and independent, but now you have to figure out like how to run yourselves. Like, and the UK has their own successful government, but it's their economy that we need to focus on because it's a huge hit. It's like if the state of Ohio was going to keep its government of like having a governor and our local cities and all of that, like our mayors and stuff. But if we wanted to be free from the United States, our economy is going to tank. So we have to figure out like how to do that by ourselves. That's Brexit. Here's this map that I wanted to show you. The yellow states are members of the EU and the green countries, sorry. The yellow countries are members of the European Union and the green ones are candidates, meaning they want to be a part of it. So you will see that Turkey is green. They want to be a part of the European Union, but gosh, I wonder why they haven't been involved yet, or why haven't they been included into the European Union? Fascist dictator, maybe, potentially. Do you think that's the reason why? It is the reason why. So Turkey is wanting to be a member. Iceland is wanting to be a member. Serbia is wanting to be a member, and they just have to get like full approval before they can be included. Obviously, Turkey's not going to be involved because they have a fascist dictatorship and they're committing a genocide with the Kurds, but they still want to be a part of it. This one over here is the migrant crisis in Europe. It's got a lot of information over here. These are the pathways that immigrants are. I guess these are actually refugees because a lot of them are coming from Syria. That's the longest bar up here. Right here. It's Syria. A lot of them are fleeing from Syria because, again, it's a war-torn country. President Assad of Syria is killing his own people. So these arrows down here show and it's like the thicker that the arrows are, that's like the more people that are fleeing. And then it says like, where are they going? Like depending on where they're going. So like the larger the bar is, that means more refugees are fleeing there. So this is a really interesting map. And it also has the number of asylum applications at the bottom, so it's just increasing. Things are getting worse in certain countries over there. And this, by the way, this is from 2015, so it's actually just gotten worse. So that's devastating. But I don't have an answer, and countries can work and try to figure it out. But if these war-torn countries don't solve their issues, then this immigration thing is going to be harder and harder to fix. So it all roots back to countries being broken, basically, and trying to fix them and having these authoritarian leaders. And people are dying. It's a humanitarian crisis, and it's just not good. It's devastating. Don't forget a summary for those two slides. Look at that map. It's fascinating. It's a really good map. Don't forget your summaries. It's been a great year. This is the last video. Turn in your bell ringers. Take your test next week. All right. Bye, guys.